you for joining us this morning on Boise Backyard Paradise. Today we're going to be discussing the top Boise, Idaho attractions, and in no particular order, they include the MK Nature Center, the Idaho State Capitol, the Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial, the Zoo Boise, Boise State University, the Boise Train Depot, Bogus Basin, as well as Ann Morrison Park. So first, let's visit the MK Nature Center. It is located on a 4.6-acre site along the Boise River Greenbelt, which is just behind the Fish and Game Headquarters building. So take a look.
The Nature Center, of course, one of the primary purposes is education, but it's a lot of things to a lot of people. People come down here to get in contact with wildlife or be in nature. One of our educational focuses is aquatic education, and we do a ton of that. Almost every single program we do has got some aquatic component to it. We serve about 10,000 students per year, school students, for field trips that actually schedule field trips with us. And then there are some that just walk on self-guided field trips. Visitations probably in the neighborhood of 150 to 200,000 people a year. A lot of our business, of course, is children, so there's good, cool stuff for kids to touch and see and do. Of course, with kids, what you want is things that they can touch. Kids have to touch things. Obviously, Idaho's wildlife is unique and diverse and important, whether you're photographing it or hunting it. This is kind of where things happen in terms of classroom, program, education. Our field trips all start here with a little introduction to habitat, adaptations, aquatic education. Maybe we do birds of prey. We do an owl program, maybe. Scat and tracks. But we start in the auditorium. We spend a few minutes in here introducing the subject and getting everybody comfortable, and then we get people outside. That's a sturgeon. Look at him. That's our little guy. Hey, come over here. We got 3 of them in here. That's the smallest of the 3. Look at him. Oh, man. He's so awesome. You got to have something stuck for something that's been around that long. Ridge-lipped sucker, one of our native suckers. There's about 6 native species of suckers. And typically they're on the bottom. He just comes to get his picture taken. They're on the bottom doing their bottom thing with algae and cleaning the rocks and eating plants and that. And what's kind of cool is you got these suckers on the bottom playing their part in the ecosystem. Like there's 2 right there. And then you got the trout above them. And of course, as Mother Nature would have it, form follows function. So you have the flat bottom, mouth on the bottom feeders. Then you have the middle of the world, mouth is like a big smile, eat insects and fish and stuff, and take insects off the top of the water. And like I said, then the suckers are down the bottom, and they're quite happy living together in the same environment. And the place is really amazing. 4.5 acres is all it is, but you get deer and fox, you get owls, you get hawks in here, and all this waterfowl, because it's got all the right stuff. You know, you got the water and the food and shelter and all this stuff, so it attracts all these animals, and it's this little tiny spot in the middle of town, which is nice and convenient. We'll have Chinook salmon here in a week or 2. The ladybugs are like full on, whites and sulfur. Liquids about there, nice. Nobody can believe. Look at this stuff. Look at this guy. Hey, look at you. This is one of my favorite places in the whole nature center. Is a native plant garden, and this is what people could do at their homes, at their businesses, at their schools. That would actually save a bunch of water, teach kids about their native landscape, let the kids do their work, let the kids get dirty, figure things out, and have fun.
So it's a great place to get a sample of wild Idaho, and although admission is free, donations are greatly accepted. And our next stop is going to be the Idaho State Capitol. Here's a look of the inside. The Idaho State Capitol rises 208 feet into the Boise skyline, a classical architectural form prominent among the city's modern multi-story buildings and landscapes rolling foothills. The Renaissance Revival Capitol is Idaho's most significant historic structure and a building that reflects city and state political, social, and economic history. Over 100 years since conception, the Capitol continues to function as the seat of Idaho state government, currently housing the executive and legislative branches and numerous state offices, which occupy much of the approximately 190,000 square feet of usable space. Construction took place in two separate campaigns, with work on the central portion beginning in 1905. As constructed in this first phase, the central portion consisted of the rotunda and dome, the north wing housing the Supreme Court and the offices positioned on either side of the abbreviated east and west corridors. In 1912, the central portion was completed after 7 years of construction, and building occupants moved into their offices through the proud new State House. In 1912, the central portion was completed after 7 years of construction, and building occupants moved into their offices in the proud new State House. The final cost of the building was just over $2 million, and it was completed in 1920. Overall, the architects used several different materials. 4 types of marble were used for the Capitol's interior: red from Georgia, gray from Alaska, green from Vermont, and black from Italy, to construct the building, and their architecture was inspired by various sources and cultures. Moving ahead a couple of decades, from 2006 to 2012, authorization was given to finance 2 two-story underground wings that would cost about $130 million. After the economy took a turn for the worse, Governor Otter compromised to have only 2 one-story underground wings. After this compromise was reached, building continued up until 2010, when both interior and exterior renovations were finished. Some interesting facts about the Capitol are that there are underground tunnels beneath the Capitol Mall connecting the Capitol building to the Supreme Court buildings and other government buildings. Used daily by government employees, these tunnels are not accessible to the public and can serve as bomb shelters to protect the governor and other public servants. That place is such an incredible building. I hope all of you get a chance to go visit it there, whether you've been there or not. They have guided tours as well as self-tours available to the public. So next we're going to move forward to the Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial, which is just down the street from the Capitol building. Enjoy.
This quote is from one of the roughly 6 million people who fell victim to the Nazis during the Holocaust in World War II. Long before this travesty, and even today, people around the world are being deprived of their rights as human beings. Everything from discrimination to genocide is still present in some parts of the world. Some people believe the best way to prevent these sort of things from occurring in the future is to educate the world about these events and to let the voices of those whose rights were violated be heard. The Idaho Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial is one way that the Idaho Human Rights Education Center is doing just this. The memorial is centered around the life of Anne Frank, who lived with hers and another family in a secret annex in the attic of a bookbinding business in Amsterdam during World War II. They lived there for 2 years before being discovered by the Nazis and being taken away to concentration camps. The memorial was inspired by Anne Frank's faith in humanity. A quote from her diary reads, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are truly good at heart."
The founding mothers, as I call them, always recognized Anne Frank as a really powerful symbol who could speak to an audience of school children and really influence them with the power and importance of using human rights in our values. And so she is, of course, a centerpiece here, but it's also a memorial to all human rights. And I think that when we get over to the quote wall, you'll really get a sense of how timeless these themes are, and what an amazing job the organizers did in making sure that the views that are expressed here reflect every experience, every country, every era. a volunteer committee who poured over thousands of quotes. They met like weekly for 2 years to try and come up with the quotes that would be displayed on this quote wall. And I have a book for you with all these quotes in case you don't have time today to take them all in. And I think that they really did a marvelous job of making sure that, you know, lots of cultures and geographies and experiences are represented. And it's really here that you get a sense that this is a memorial to all human rights.
Though the memorial looks complete, the Idaho Human Rights Education Center is constantly looking for ways to improve the experience of the memorial. Currently, they are in the process of raising funds to purchase and implement audio devices for the memorial. The Idaho Human Rights Education Center and the Idaho Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial are doing their part to help overcome some of the inhumane actions being brought against people throughout the world. Though their part may seem small, the only thing required for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing.
And right next to the Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial is Zoo Boise, which is a place perfect for all ages, children, adults, and even seniors. Zoo Boise connects their visitors with animals to inspire and involve the community in the conservation of animal wildlife. Here's the video. In 1916, Zoo Boise was created through a gift of rare and highly valued birds from the Sportsman Club and was also the recipient of a chimpanzee that escaped from a traveling circus that was passing through town. During the 1920s, the police department took care of the animals by visiting local restaurants and grocery stores looking for leftover food. By World War II, the zoo had grown to display 40 different species of animals. However, throughout the war and over the next decade, the zoo suffered from neglect and by 1961 was in danger of being closed. In September 1961, a citizens task force was appointed to study this dilemma, and the Idaho Zoological Society was formed. The society is a nonprofit 501 organization that supports Zoo Boise through capital development, animal acquisition, volunteer, and education programs. The goal of each of these components is to increase public awareness, knowledge, and appreciation of the zoo, wild animals, animal habitats, environment, and species conservation. Over the next few decades, city monies were used to make improvements and build new exhibits in the zoo. Many of them still exist today, including the bear grottos, the aviaries, and the primate house. In 1968, the Junior League donated $5,000 to help build the first children's zoo. In 1971, fees were charged for the first time, 35 cents for adults, 25 cents for high schoolers, and only 15 cents for children. The zoo received a Bengal tiger, Ben Bowie, from the Los Angeles Zoo in 1975. The original tiger exhibit now houses 2 rare Amur leopards. Over the past few years, the Friends of Zoo Boise has worked to improve Zoo Boise through the creation of numerous exhibits, including the Beaver Otter House, which is now the Penguin Pavilion, the new front entryway complex, Simplot Education Center, and the Zootique, which is the gift shop. New fox and badger exhibits, a new 8,000 square foot Amur tiger exhibit, which opened in October 1999, and the first phase renovation of the bear exhibit, a new captive breeding facility for the endangered southern Idaho ground squirrel, which is in partnership with Idaho Fish and Game. They remodeled the keeper kitchen area, new hospital quarantine facility, expansion of the new snow leopard exhibit and the leopard exhibit, and of course the exciting new small animal kingdom, which opened in 2001. On September 9, 2002, Zoo Boise achieved an important milestone, accreditation with the American Zoo and Aquarium Association. This milestone was achieved after 6 years of steady improvements in zoo exhibits, animal welfare, safety and security protocols, staff training, educational programs, and visitor services. The AZA is a membership organization whose members include the best zoos, exhibits, animal welfare in the country. The AZA provides training opportunities, joint conversation programs, and sets standards for how zoos should operate. Of the more than 2,300 institutions that have a zoo license from the USDA, only 210 have met the extensive accreditation requirements. These requirements cover not only animal and vet care, but also education programs, safety programs, guest services, conservation, and physical plant maintenance and planning. All right, so now to the next big thing in Boise. You guessed it, the Boise State Broncos. Boise State Broncos call BSU, Boise State University, home, which is located in the heart of Boise, just seconds from downtown. With just under 20,000 students, BSU is not only expanding in their student population, but also their campus size and the variety of classes offered. So let's go to Buster Bronco and Cheryl as they take a quick tour of the Boise State campus.
Hi, I'm Associate Vice President Cheryl Larrabee, and this is Buster Bronco. Join us for a tour of campus and see what Boise State's Destination Distinction campaign has done for people, places, and programs at the university so far. Hold on tight, Buster. Buster, look! This is the Education Building. This is where 6 recent graduates received the Doctorate in Education degree. One of them, Brian Whitney, told me he couldn't have done it without a scholarship. Thank goodness for friends and alumni who give scholarship support through Destination Distinction. Our current business building has served us well since opening in 1970 with 1,000 students. But today, with over 3,000 students enrolled, things are getting a bit, well, squished. That's why a new business building is a campaign priority. In addition to great people like Brian and exceptional places like the new business building, the campaign is also supporting unique new programs, such as the Electrical and Computer Engineering PhD program here in the College of Engineering. Buster, you have the prettiest eyes. Here we are back at Bronco Stadium. Buster, I hope you enjoyed the campus tour as much as I did. Can I give you a lift back to the field?
And now I have John Sandmeyer here, who's a BSU student. And so, John, tell me, how has the fall semester been going so far?
Well, it's keeping me very, very busy. I'm taking 2 community college courses. 2 community communication courses, and one of them is interpersonal communications. I wish I'd taken it a lot sooner in my life. I could have dealt with some interesting conflicts and conversations. And I'm also taking a course at Treasure Valley Community Television and learning how to make TV shows.
Right. Okay.
And they do consume a lot of time, especially when you're working. But they have courses in the evening and on weekends that makes it much more convenient.
I bet. Yeah, that sounds really nice. The variety of classes, it helps students and people who work. So, as far as different locations, you were saying that you took some over in Meridian.
Yes, BSU has an extension building over at Meridian. They have computers there that you can use, as well as nice classrooms, and many evening classes are over there. And that's where I'm taking my interpersonal communications class.
That's really helpful, I think, with all the students, with it expanding so much, with more locations, BSU is able to expand to different people in the area. So as far as like tuition rates, I know full-time students, they pay over $2,000 for the semester, but senior rates are only $5 a credit?
That is correct. You pay $25 a semester and then $5 a credit. You have to pay a lab fee or an online fee if there's one. But frankly, it's fantastic. I feel sorry for the poor students who are racking up big student loans, but I really feel it's a chance for me to renew my knowledge and learn things that I didn't learn the first time through school. So I love the opportunities for seniors.
Yeah, that sounds very nice. I wish I was over 65 years old. So as far as transportation, BSU, they have a bus that goes to CWI, and that way you don't even have to worry about parking at BSU.
That's true. CWI, Community College, Western Idaho, in Nampa, has a really big parking lot. You can get on the shuttle there, go to BSU, and get off, and not have to worry about your car or traffic or anything.
That sounds like a lifesaver.
It
BSU
is.
parking, I've heard, is very crazy during the
It
weeks,
is.
during the weeks.
It is.
And so as far as the campus expanding, I feel like it's just getting bigger every single day. I mean, the new Micron building,
Yes.
that just opened up, and they're expanding the BSU Stadium now.
Well, I took my first courses back in the summer of '69, and at that time the business building you showed there that's being replaced wasn't even started. The sub-building with the bookstore was probably about a fourth of the current size. They've expanded it. The library has expanded enormously. They didn't have the Morrison Center on campus at all. I mean, at that time it was called Boise State College rather than Boise State University. It's really grown and deserved to be called a university now with its size.
It's just growing so greatly. All right, well, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. And now we're going to switch gears and take a look at the Boise Train Depot. The Boise Union Pacific Depot is a former railroad station in Boise, Idaho. It was built in 1925 by New York architects to elaborate fanfare in the capital city. With a splendid panoramic view of the Boise front, the building grounds include Platt Gardens, a lovely park with pathways, a gazebo, and a koi pond makes this a popular site for weddings, photographs, and public gatherings. Depot amenities include the Great Hall, a soaring 77 feet by 46 feet, totaling 3,542 square feet multi-story atrium that once served as the building's waiting room. 10 original benches line the walls of the Great Hall. The maximum occupancy is 300 standing and 165 seated. The original 1925 Barkalow Brothers newsstand is featured on the west wall. The newsstand has been slightly restored but remains in its original form. This area is great for a buffet or display. The Great Hall ceiling is lined with Spanish trusses, each imprinted with antique locomotives. In December of 1990, the Morrison-Knudsen Company, a worldwide construction and engineering company whose headquarters are here in Boise, bought the depot from Union Pacific. In 1992, the company began restoration of the depot for Amtrak and other public uses. On February 5, 1993, the restored Morrison-Knudsen Depot reopened with a public ribbon-cutting ceremony and the restored clock chimes. All right, so all you winter lovers better be paying attention. Next up is Bogus Basin. What started as a little ski hill with one rope tow has grown into a mountain with 7 chairlifts, 3 lodges, Nordic trails, night skiing, and approximately 300,000 skiers visits each season.
Ground, literally.
It's really great. Like, there's a run for every single age group. There's the magic carpet if you're just learning. There's the bunny hill, there's the quad, there's anything.
We're pretty proud of our area. 2,600 acres in our boundary is actually larger than most of the big dogs in Idaho.
You know, Bogus is somewhat unique in that you ski 360 degrees around the top of the mountain, so you can chase the sun, and there's always something to ski.
We have 2 moving carpets and 7 lifts, and our vertical is about 1,800 feet. We've got our high-speed quad on the front side of the mountain, then we also have one on the back side. And it's about a 4-minute ride up the hill, and it's fabulous.
You know, I love Chair 6 on the back side. There's some great snow back there because it's all north facing and it stays cold, and the snow stays really good back so.
The longest run is about 1.5 miles, and it really is, it's a crowd pleaser. Everybody loves it.
Great terrain, a lot of variety. We get some good snow, you know, get 7-8 inches, and it's a great powder day up here. And you can find fresh tracks all week long.
We're one of few areas in Idaho and in the Northwest that has night skiing, and it's really popular.
I like skiing moguls and doing the train park.
We have 3 train parks, and they're scattered throughout the mountain, and it's a huge draw. They're schooled in the etiquette of the terrain park.
And there's a little hut, and you have to watch this 12-minute video, and then they'll talk to you for about 3 minutes, and then they'll give you your park pass.
And we have seen a decrease in incidences in our terrain park as a result, which is really cool.
The lodge is great and the food's great. So, I mean, you have a good combination of everything.
We have the Pepsi Cold Rush Tubing Hill, which is a huge draw, and it takes no special skill. You just have to figure out whether you want to go Superman style or couch potato style, and you're dialed. Not only do we have night skiing on the alpine side of the mountain, but we have one of the only solar lighted night skiing over at the Nordic Center, and that draws hundreds of people every week.
$199 for a season pass. Who can go wrong? I can follow the school bus out of the neighborhood, come skiing for the day, and beat the school bus back home.
I love the fact that my kids have grown up on this mountain, and it's their mountain.
And last but not least, we have Ann Morrison Park. The park is free and available to everyone during all the season. Here is a preview. Ann Morrison Park was conceived by Harry Morrison, founder of the Morrison-Knudsen Company, after the death of his wife Anne in October 1957. Early in 1958, Harry met with Boise Mayor Eldefson about his plan to acquire land to develop a park in memory of his late wife and deed it to the city. This was to be no small park, but well over 100 acres to be built on land previously owned by the school district for a new high school. The initial land acquisition was relatively simple. When the school bond election failed, Harry quietly purchased the entire 100-acre parcel and then proceeded to buy up to 6 more parcels until the total exceeded 153 acres and extended from Americana to Capitol Boulevard. Harry Morrison, already in his 70s, set the dedication date for his new park as June 7, 1959, then immediately turned the project over to a handful of veteran MK project managers under the supervision of J.V. Vern Otter. All right, so again, thank you so much for joining us here. We hope we have given you some fantastic insight on some of the greatest attractions in Boise, Idaho. So whether you are an Idaho native or just visiting, you don't want to miss out. Until next time, have a great day.